Good morning, students. This is Sivakrishna from the Department of Mechanical Engineering, Deep Institute of Technology, Kavali. Today I am going to presentation on design of bearings. So this is the unit 3, the continuation topic from the design of bearings. So in this clip we can discuss about the types of general bearings. Last class we can discuss about the coefficient of bearing, friction and critical pressure of the general bearing, Sommerfeld number, heat generated in a general bearing, design procedure for general bearing. So finally the problems on general bearing. So in this PPT we can go into presentation on types of general bearings. So what are the types of solid general bearing, pushed general bearing, split bearing or plumber block, thrust bearing, footstep or pivot bearings, collar bearings, problems on footstep bearing and problems on collar bearings, ball and roller bearings, basic static load rating of rolling contact bearings, static equivalent load of rolling contact bearing. So finally the life of the bearing. So these topics we can discuss in this PPT. So let us start the class. So types of general bearing. The first one is solid general bearing. A solid general bearing, as shown in the figure, is the simplest form of the general bearing. It is simply a block of a cast iron with a hole for a shaft providing running feet. The lower portion of the block is extended to form a base plate or sole with the two holes to receive bolted for fastening into the frame. An oil hole is drilled at the top of the lubrication. So you can see the figure. This is the solid general bearing. So the total entire body is located in the cast iron. So this is with the hole in the shaft providing running fit. So in top of the general bearing the oil hole is provided and the shaft is rotating, and the base and the bottom of the solid general bearing it has a two soles is fixed to the by fixing to the holes by bolts fastening into the frame by fitting to the frame by the help of the two bolts. So this is the diagram. So next, advantages of the main disadvantage of this bearing are there is no provision for adjustment in case of wear and wear. The shaft must be passed into the bearing axial, that is endwise. So these two are the disadvantages of the solid general bearing. Since there is no provision for wear adjustment, therefore this type of bearing is used when the shaft speed is not very high and the shaft carry light loads only. So in this type of general bearing, so it is used to adjustment. The type of bearing is used for the shaft speed, but very speed shaft is not carry. So it will be used light load only. Next, bushed general bearing. The bushed bearing, as shown in the figure, is an improved solid bearing in which a bush of a brass or gunmetal is provided. The outside of bush is a driving fit in the hole for the casting, where the inside is a running fit for the shaft. When the bush gets worn out, it can be easily replaced. In small bearings, the frictional force itself hold the bush in position, but for shaft transmitting high power, grub screws are used for the prevention of rotation of and sliding of the bush. So we can see the figure. This is the bush general bearing. On the top of the bearing, we can arrange the oil hole. So by using oil, providing the oil, the shaft will rotate freely. So in this shaft rotating, in replace and another place we can arrange the bush will arrange the shaft and touches to the bush. So why by using the bush means? So it causing where inside running fit by the shaft, the bush gets worn out. So it is easily replaced. The bush is easily replaced. In small bearings, the frictional force itself which holds the bush in the position. The shaft transmits the high power by helping the bush. When the bush is damaged, then you can replace the bushes very easy and simply. And finally, the rotation of the sliding of the bush. And the grab screws are used to prevent prevention of the rotation and the sliding of the bush. So this is the bush general bearing. Next, split bearing or plumber block. A split bearing is used for shaft running at high speed and carrying heavy loads. So you can see the figure. So this is the plumber block or split bearing. It is used to shaft running with high speed with carrying heavy loads. The split bearing as shown in the figure consists of a cast iron, also called block or pedestal. So gunmetal or phosphorus bronze brasses, bushes or steps made in two halves and a cast iron cap. The two halves of the brasses are held together by a cup or cover by means of mild steel bolts and nuts. So you can see the figure. This is the cast iron cap. It have a two halves arrangement. So the two halves will be fixed to the help of bolt and screws. The mild steel bolts and screws are arranged. Bolts and nuts are arranged. Sometimes thin shims are introduced between the cup and base is provided an adjustment for wear. When the bottom wear out, one of two shims are removed and then cap is tightened by means of bolts. So sometimes it will use two shims. So introducing the between the cap and base to provide adjustment of the wear. So by using the help of shims, it will adjustment of the bolt and cup. So the bottom we can arrange the shims which will remove the cap. So why by using remove cap is will fitting the tighten by means of the bolts. So when bolts is rotated, the shaft will be fitted very tightly with the help of tightening the two bolts or nuts. So this is the arrangement of the split bearing or plumber block. Next, truss bearing. A truss bearing is used to guide or support the shaft which is subjected to a long shaft which is subjected to a load along to the axis of the shaft. Such type of bearings are mainly used in turbines and propeller shafts. The truss bearing are the following two types. So what are the two types are? Footstep or pivot bearings and collar bearings. In footstep or pivot bearing, the load shaft is vertical and the end of the shaft rests within the bearing. So coming to the collar bearing, in case of collar bearing, the shaft continues through the bearing. The shaft may be vertical or horizontal with a single collar or many collars. We shall now discuss the design aspects of these bearings in the following articles. So we can discuss it one by one. Footstep or pivot bearing. A simple type of footstep bearing, suitable for a slow running and lightly loaded shaft as shown in the figure. If the shaft is not a steel. Its end must be fitted with a steel face. The shaft is guided in a gunmetal bush, pressed into the pedestal and prevented from the turning by means of a pin. Since the wear is proportional to the velocity of the rubbing surface, which that is rubbing velocity increases with the distance from the axis. So axis means that is the radius of the bearing. Therefore, the wear will be different and different radii. Due to this wear, the distribution of pressure over the bearing surface is not uniform. So it may be noted that the wear is maximum at the outside radius and zero at the center. In order to compensate for end wear, the following two methods are employed. So what are the methods are? The shaft is counterbore at the end. So as shown in the figure here, the shaft is supported on a pile of discs. It is usually practiced to provide alternate discs for different materials such as steel and bronze. So as shown in the figure B, so that the next disc comes into play if one disc seizes due to improper lubrication. It may be noted that footstep bearing is difficult to lubricate as the oil is bearing through outwards from the center of by centrifugal forces. So you can see the figure. So we will see the figure A and B. So it will arrange it to the shaft and hole. So in hole we can arrange the oil. The smaller is the radius between the oil. So oil is pouring to the hole. The shaft is placed to the center of the hole, but with the help of weight W, weight W is load is applied. The shaft will be touches to the hole base. This is called shaft counter bore. So next one is shaft supported on pile of disc. So in this arrangement we will arrange the steel disc or bronze disc. So in bottom of the steel two discs will be arranged with the bronze disc. In the same manner, the shaft will be rotated with the weight W will be applied some force. The shaft will be touches to the steel and compresses with the bronze steel. And finally, the steel bases on the top. The bronze steel top and bottom will arrange with the steel discs. So this will be the arrangement of the counter bore shaft in the counter bore system, and the shaft is supported on the piles of the disc. In designing, it is assumed that the pressure is in uniform distribution throughout the bearing surface. Let W equal to load transmitted over the bearing surface, R equal to radius of the bearing surface or shaft. So A equal to cross-sectional area of the bearing surface, and P is the bearing pressure per unit area of the bearing surface between rubbing surfaces. Mu is equal to coefficient of friction and N is equal to speed of the shaft in RPM. When the pressure is uniformly distributed over the bearing area, then P equal to W by A. That equal to W by pi R square, and the total frictional torque T is equal to 2 by 3 into mu into W into R. So therefore, power loss in friction P is equal to 2 pi Nt by 60. So the units in the power is watts. Since T belongs to Newton meter, frictional torque T equal to 2 by the total frictional torque T is equal to 2 by 3 into mu into W into R. So finally you can calculate in the loss of power loss in friction P equal to 2 pi Nt by 60 in watts. The units in the power is watts. The units in the torque is Newton meter. Next, coming to the collar bearing, we have already discussed that the collar bearing, the shaft continues through the bearing. The shaft may be vertical or horizontal with a single collar or many collars. A simple multi-collar bearing for a horizontal shaft as shown in the figure. We can see the figure. This is the simple multi-collar. The collars are either integral parts of the shaft or rigidly fastened on it. The outer diameter of the collar is usually taken as 1.4 to 1.8 times the inner diameter of the collar, that is the diameter of the shaft. The thickness of the collar is kept as 1/6 the diameter of the shaft and the clearance between the collar as 1/3 diameter of the shaft. The designing collar bearing, it is assumed that the pressure is uniform distributed over the bearing surface. So this is the collar bearing diagram. We can see the diagram. The weight W will be applied to the horizontal wall. That is, the smaller is the distance between the center line to the collar distance, and capital is the distance between the center line to the oil receiver. So the oil will be arranged in the parallel surface for a series arrangement in the form of the, you can see the diagram. When the oil receiver, we can passing through the oil will continuously forming to the series arrangement of the oil. So this is, you can see the diagram of the collar bearing. The pressure is distributed uniformly of the bearing surface. So entire pressure will be distributed uniformly into the present bearing surface. Let W equal to load transmitted over the bearing surface. So N equal to number of collars. So R is equal to outer radius of the collar. Small r equal to inner radius of the collar. A cross sectional area of the bearing surface. N pi R2 minus capital R2 minus small r2. P is the bearing pressure per unit area of the bearing surface between rubbing surfaces. Mu equal to coefficient of friction, and N speed, and capital N equal to speed of the shaft in RPM. When the pressure is uniform distributed over the bearing surface, then bearing pressure and the total frictional torque. The total frictional torque P is equal to W by A equal to W by, so you can replace the A is N pi into R2 R square minus capital R square minus small r square, and total torque and the total frictional torque T is equal to 2 by 3 into mu into W into R3 R cube minus capital R cube minus small r cube by R square minus capital R square minus small r square, when T is in Newton meter. Therefore, power losses in friction. So total power loss in the friction P is equal to 2 by NT by 60. So the units of the power is watts. So next problems are footstep bearing. A footstep bearing supports a shaft of 150 mm diameter, which is counter bore at the end with a hole diameter of 50 mm. If the bearing pressure is limited to 0.8 Newton per mm square and the speed is 100 rpm, find the load to be supported, the power lost in the friction, and the heat generated at the bearing. So we can find the load support and the power loss in friction, heat generated at the bearing. So assuming coefficient of friction equal to mu equal to 0.015. So this is the problem. So first we can note down the given data. Given capital D shaft diameter, capital D equal to 150 mm, or capital R equal to capital D by 2. Then 150 divided by 2, that equal to 75 mm. So small d, diameter of the hole, small d equal to 50 mm. So small r equal to 25 mm. Bearing pressure P is equal to 0.8 Newton per mm square, and final speed N is equal to 100 rpm. Coefficient of friction mu equal to 0.015. So first you can calculate the load to be subjected. So first point, the load to be subjected, let W equal to load to be subjected. Assuming that the pressure is uniform distributed over the bearing surface. Therefore, bearing pressure P is equal to W by pi into capital R square minus small r square. So substitute the values. P equal to 0.8. So W by pi into capital R square 75 whole square minus small r square 25 whole square. So we can calculating W by 15,710. So therefore W is equal to 0.8 into 15,710, that equal to 12,568 newtons. So therefore finally the load will be calculated. The weight W equal to load to be subjected. What load is 12,568 newtons. So next we can calculate the power lost in friction. So we know that the total frictional torque T is equal to 2 by 3 into mu into W into R capital R cube minus small r cube by capital R square minus small r square. So substitute in the values, that equal to 2 by 3 into mu 0.015 into W 12,568 into R cube 75 whole cube minus 25 whole cube by 75 whole square minus 25 whole square into Newton mm. So finally then calculating T is equal to 125.68 into 81.25. So finally you can calculate it 10,202 Newton mm. So this will be converted to Newton meter, 10.212 Newton meter. So therefore finally last you can calculate the power lost in friction. So power, finally power you can calculating power equal to 2 pi nt by 60. So substitute in the values 2 into pi into n 100 into T. T is calculating, so 10.212 by 60. So finally we will calculating what power loss in friction P equal to 107 watts. So this will be converted to kilowatts. So 0.107 kilowatts. Next last one, heat generated at the bearing. Heat generated at the bearing. So we know that the heat generated at the bearing equal to power lost in friction. The power loss in friction is 0.107 kilowatts or kilojoule per second. So this will be converted to kilojoule per minute. So that equal to 0.107 into 60. That equal to 6.42 kilojoule per minute. So this is the problem on full step bearing. So next problems on collar bearing. A thrust of a propeller shaft is absorbed by 6 collars. A rubbing surface of this collar has outer diameter 300 mm and inner diameter 200 mm. If the shaft runs at 120 rpm, the bearing pressure amounts to 0.4 Newton per mm square. The coefficient of friction may be taken as 0.05. So assuming the pressure is uniform distributed, determine the power absorbed by the collar. So in this problem, we can give it N 6 collars. So rubbing surface of the outer diameter capital D 300 mm. So capital R equal to 150 mm. So inner diameter small d equal to 200 mm. So small r equal to 100 mm. Shaft running speed N equal to 120 rpm. So finally the bearing pressure P equal to 0.4 Newton per mm square. Coefficient of friction mu equal to 0.05. First of all, let us find the thrust on the shaft. Since the pressure is uniform distributed over the bearing surface, so therefore bearing pressure P equal to W by N pi capital R square minus small r square. So substitute in the values. So W is not given, so W will be calculating. So N equals 6, 5. So capital R 150 whole square minus small r 100 whole square. That equal to W by 2,35,650. Therefore W equal to 0.4 into 2,35,650. That equal to Finally, we can calculating weight W equal to 94,260 newtons. So we know that the total frictional torque T equal to 2 by 3 into mu into W into R cube, capital R cube minus small r cube by capital R square minus small r square. So substitute in the values, that equal to 2 by 3 into mu 0.05 into W 94,260. So capital R 150 whole cube minus small r 100 whole cube divided by capital R 150 whole square minus small r 100 whole square. So finally we can calculate T equal to 5,97,000 Newton mm. So this will be converted to meter, 597 Newton meter. So therefore the total frictional torque with T equal to 597 Newton meter. So therefore power absorbed by the collar. The power absorbed by the collar P equal to 2 pi nt by 60. So substitute in the values 2 into pi into n 120 into T 597 by 60. So we can calculate the value P equal to 7,503 watts. So this will be converted to kilowatts, 7.503 kilowatts. So next problem. The thrust of a propeller shaft in a marine engine is taken up by the number of collars integral with the shaft, which is 300 mm is diameter. The thrust on the shaft is 200 kilonewtons and the speed is 75 rpm. So take in mu is constant and is equal to 0.05, and assuming the bearing pressure as uniform and equal to 0.3 Newton per mm square. So find number of collars required, power lost in friction, and heat generated at the bearings in kilojoule per minute. So final solution given small d equal to 300 mm or small r equal to 150 mm. Weight W equal to 200 kilonewton. So this will be converted to newtons. That equal to 200 into 10 cube newton. Speed n equal to 75 rpm. So coefficient of friction mu equal to 0.05 and bearing pressure P equal to 0.3 Newton per mm square. So first you can calculate the number of collars required. Let n equal to number of collars required. Since the outer diameter of the collar capital D is taken as 1.4 to 1.8 times the diameter of the shaft, therefore let us take capital D equal to 1.4 D. That equal substitute the small d value, so 1.4 into 300, that equal to 420 mm, or capital R equal to 210 mm. So we know that the bearing pressure P equal to W by N into pi into capital R square minus small r square. So substitute in the values. So power P equal to bearing pressure P equal to 0.3. So weight 200 into 10 cube by n into pi into, so n is not given, so n will be calculating. So pi into capital R 210 whole square minus small r 150 whole square. So final we can calculating. So 0.3 equal to 2.947 by n. So therefore n equal to 2.947 divided by 0.3, that equal 9.8. This will be rounded to 10. So therefore n is equal to total 10 collars. So next you can calculate the power loss in friction. So we know that the total frictional torque P equal to 2 by 3 mu into W. W into capital R cube minus small r cube by capital R square minus small r square. That equal to substitute in the values 2 by 3 into mu 0.05 into W 200 into 10 cube, that equal to into capital R 210 whole cube minus small r 150 whole cube divided by capital R 210 whole square minus 150 whole square Newton mm. So finally you can calculate total torque T equal to 1817 into 10 cube Newton mm. This will be converted to meter, Newton meter. So that equal to 1870 Newton meter. So therefore, the power loss in friction P equal to 2 pi nt by 60. That equal to 2 into pi into n 75 into t 1817 by 60. So finally, you can calculating the total power loss in friction P equal to 14,270 watts. This will be converted to kilowatts, 14.27 kilowatts. Heat generated, next you can calculating heat generated at the bearing. So we know that heat generated at the bearing equal to power loss in friction. So power loss in friction equal to 14.27 kilowatts or kilojoule per second. That equal to power loss in friction is 14.27 into 60. That equal to 856.2 kilojoule per minute. In kilowatts or kilojoule per second, this will be converted to kilojoule per minute. So that's why we can multiplying in 60. So 1 minute equal to 60 seconds. That's why power loss in friction equal to 14.27 into 60. That equal to 856.2 kilojoule per minute. So next, ball and roller bearings. The ball and roller bearings consists of the inner race which is mounted on the shaft or general, and the outer race which is carried by the housing or casting. So we can see the figure. The figure shows the ball bearing and roller bearing. So compared to the ball and roller bearing, so when coming to ball bearing, so when balls is used for the bearing, and coming to the roller bearing, and roller is arranged for the bearing. In the shaft will be arranged to the inner race will be arranged to the shaft, and outer race will be arranged carried out the housing or casting. So this is the inner race and this is the outer race. So retainer means you can arrange the balls or rollers. In between the inner and the outer races, there are balls or rollers. So as shown in the figure, the number of balls or rollers are used, and these are held at proper distance by retainers, so that they do not touch each other. The retainers are thin strips and is usually in two parts, which is assembled after the balls have been properly spaced. The ball bearings are used for light load and roller bearings are used for heavy loads. So ball bearings are used in the light loads and roller bearings are used in the heavy loads. In this ball bearing, it will be arranged to the retainer. So in retainer will be one separate place arranged for the ball. There is no touching contact between the ball and the outer face and inner face. So in this ball is rotated in the around of the retainer. Coming to roller bearing is also same. And a cylinder is arranged from the two retainers. In this cylinder rotated in front of the retainers also. So but no touching between the retainers. The basic static load rating of rolling contact bearings. The load carrying by non-rotating bearings are called static load. The basic static load rating is defined the static radial load. The static radial load in case of radial balls or rolling bearings, or axial load in case of thrust balls or roller bearings, which corresponds to the total permanent deformation of the ball or roller and the rest. At the most heavily stressed contact, which is equal to 0.00001 times the ball or roller diameter. In single row angular contact bearings, the basic static load relates to the radial component of the load, which causes a purely radial displacement of the bearing rings in relation to each other. Next, static equivalent load for rolling contact bearing. The static equivalent load may be defined as the static radial load in case of radial bar or ball bearings, or axial loads in case of trussed balls or roller bearings, which is applied would cause the same total permanent deformation at the most heavily stressed balls or roller and raise contact as that which occurs under the actual conditions of the loading. The static equivalent radial load WOR for radial or rolling bearing under combined radial and axial or thrust loading is given by the greater magnitude of this obtained by the following two equations. That is, the equations are WOR equal to X naught WR plus Y naught into WA, and the second one is WOR equal to WR. So this is the two equations. So where WR equal to radial load, WA equal to axial or thrust load, X naught equal to radial load factor, and Y naught equal to axial or thrust load factor. Next, coming to the life of a bearing. The life of an individual balls or roller bearing may be defined as the number of revolutions or hours at some given constant speed which the bearing runs before the first evidence of fatigue develop in the material of one of the rings or any of the rolling elements. So the life of bearing is used to the number of revolutions we use it from the bearing. So that's why by using the high constant speed, the bearing life of the bearing will be reduced. The rating life of a group of appropriately identical balls or roller bearings is defined as the number of revolutions that are hours at the some given high constant speed that 90% of the group of bearing will complete it or exceed before the first evidence of the fatigue development. That is, only 10% of the groups of bearing fail due to the fatigue. See, the term minimum life is also used to denote the rating life. It has been found that the life which 50% of group of bearing will complete or exceeds is approximately 5 times the life with 90% of the bearing will complete or exceed. In other words, we may say that the average life of the bearing is 5 times the rating life or minimum life. It may be noted that the longest life of a single bearing is seldom longer than the 4 times the average life, and the maximum life of a single bearing is about 30 to 50 times of the bearing life. So this is the bearing life. The life of bearings for various types of machines is given the following table. You can see the tabular column. So this tabular column will be arranged with serial number, application of the bearing, and a life of bearing in hours. So first one, instruments and apparatus that are rarely used. So what are the instruments and the apparatus rarely used in? Demonstration apparatus, mechanism for operating sliding doors, that is, the bearing life is 500 hours. Aircraft engines, that is, the bearing life is 1000 to 2000 hours. So second one, machinery used for short period or intermittently and whose breakdown would not have serious consequences. Example, hand tools, lifting tackle in workshops and operating machineries, agricultural machineries, cranes in erecting shops, domestic machineries. So this in this bearing life is 4,000 to 8,000 hours in the bearing life. Next, third one is machines working intermittently whose breakdown would have serious consequences. So what is the examples are? Auxiliary machinery in power stations, conveyor plant for flow production, lifts, cranes for piece goods, mission tools used frequently. So in this type of application of the bearing, we can use the bearing life is 8,000 to 12,000 hours. So next fourth application is machine working 8 hours per day are not always fully utilized. In example, stationary electrical motors, general purpose gear unit. So in this type of applications, we can use the bearing life is at 12,000 to 20,000 hours. Next fifth application, machine working 8 hours per day and fully utilized. So example, machines for the engineering industry, cranes for bulk goods, ventilation fans, counter shafts. So these are the examples for the 8 hours working, 8 hours per day fully utilized for the machines. In bearing life is 20,000 to 30,000 hours. Next sixth application, machines working 24 hours per day. So the machines working 24 hours, so the example is separators, comparators, pumps, mine hosters, naval vessels. So this type of machinery is working in the 24 hours. The life of the bearing is 40,000 to 60,000 hours. Next last application is machines required to work with a high degree of reliability 24 hours per day. So with example, plump and paper making machinery, public power plants, mine pumps, so water works. So in this type of application of the bearing, we can use the bearing life is 1 lakh to 2 lakh hours in the bearing life. So this is the life of the bearing, application of the bearing and life of the bearing in the working hours. So this is the end of the completion of unit 3. Thank you.